at IE Business School in Madrid, which helped sort of hone my skills a bit more. I'll kick off by saying that one of the things about strategy is the fact that it's something that is supposed to be thought about not just at the onset of a business idea or a business plan, but you're supposed to think about it throughout the entire life cycle of the business. An important quote that was given by a guy who is considered as the father of um, literal thinking as a concept, a guy called Edward de Bono. He actually said that companies that solely focus on competition will die. So you can't only focus on your competition, right? But he said that those that focus on value creation will thrive. And I think that's quite useful because because of the times that we're in, and I'll talk about that a little bit further down in this presentation. So focusing on value creation is core, but be aware of your competition. That's what I would say to that. Then another interesting quote that I'd like to mention is strategy is the great work of the organization. So your entire organization is basically trying to execute on the strategy. So it's all about strategy. I'll let that sink in for a little bit. It's all about the strategy. In situations of life or death, it is the Tao of survival or extinction. Its study cannot be neglected. Again, that's by the author of the book, The Art of War. And talking about war, a lot of strategic thinking and mindsets have actually been born out of war and of the from the military. Okay, so strategy therefore is almost a survival mechanism or a survival step in business. It's either you sink or you swim, right? It's either the business goes bust or the business thrives. All right. So strategy helps you navigate that journey. All right. So that's something I'd like to point out. Also, I'd like to point out an interesting statistics. Okay, just to give us a bit more sort of context as we delve a little bit deeper. So in the past sort of 3 decades, we've had quite a lot of radical change in consumer behaviors, right? So the way your consumer lived 30 years ago has completely changed radically. Okay, so if you are using the same method to approach your customer that was used either, 5 years ago or even 10 years ago, chances are you are losing customers. Your customers are dropping like flies. Your customers are leaving you because competition is coming into the market. They have a lot more opportunity in terms of product choices or service and choices. So things have changed. That's a summary. Things have changed, and we have to adapt, evolve very quickly so that we can catch up with the pace of the change that's happening in our world today. I did a quick check just to get some trends, right? And I found out that in 2010, the median age of the top 10 global companies, right, was 57 years old. So in the top 10 global companies, the median age of the employees, of the staff, was 57 years old. So they had a lot of old people in those organizations. And if you think about um, you know, how those people, when they were growing up, the things they saw and the things they thought about, that will still be having an influence and an impact in the way they made decisions, even in those, top global companies. Now, this was 2010. Also, at that time, 2 out of the 10 top global companies were in technology, and all the others were not. So now let's fast forward to 2019, just a few years ago. In 2019, the median age of the top 10 global companies was 34. That's a massive, massive reduction, 34. And then the number of the top 10 global companies that were in technology had risen from 2 to 7. So 7 out of the top 10 global companies was now in technology. So you can see that, as I said, things are changing, and things are actually changing really fast. Now, in 2024, this year, that number 34 has even gone further down. It's now between late 20s and early 30s. Okay. And now we still have 7 out of 10 in the top 10 in terms of companies that are technology-based companies. But when you look at the forecast based on this trend and also the data that's being gathered today, it's now forecasted that it will go to all the way to about 8 out of 10 companies that are in the top 10 that are in technology. And also that trend of those in the companies, the median age being around late 20 to 30, early 30s, that trend is still going to continue. So it's not going to switch back to 57 or even 34. It's going to maintain that trajectory. So what does this tell us? This tells us that, as I said, things are changing, and you have to adapt or change your strategy to be able to attract or connect with your consumer base. So all the statistics I just mentioned in the earlier slide, the summary is things are changing, but they're changing very, very fast. You now have new competitors coming into the market. Today, your competition is not just the guy who is in the same country with you. When you release a product or a service to your target customer who is in your backyard, that same target customer is also being targeted by everyone in the globe, not just you. So things are now radically shifting from the mindset of how we did business in the past to how we should do it now. Also, another competitor you have is actually technology, because previously you could just offer a service and you had almost a monopoly of the knowledge to deliver that service, or the knowledge to create that product. Today, with the input of AI, automation, people working from different parts of the globe on the same project, technology has now become almost like a competition for you. You're competing against the fast pace of technology, and you also have to think about, is technology an ally for me? Is it a tool for my collaboration, or is it a competition against my business? You have to start thinking, asking questions like, is my business AI proof? And we'll come to that in a few moments. There are now newer obstacles to navigate. You have things like a change in the culture. So previously, we said that the workforce, the median age for the top 10 global companies was 57. Now it's between late 20s and early 30s. That also means that now those who you rely on to provide your service offering, your products, those who you rely on are now, the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, and their way of thinking is completely different to those in older age brackets. So that's something to think about. That's something you need to be conscious about. The culture is changing. There's a famous quote that culture eats strategy for breakfast. You have to be aware of the culture, not just the culture you are trying to imbibe, but also the culture of the generation that you are one marketing to, but also the generation that you are employing. Okay, so that's also a key thing. Then there are market forces, that are changing so quickly. There are new policies. A new government can come into power today and change the policies radically of the government that was in power just 1 year ago. I remember there was a time we were trying to do, and there was a deal we were trying to do then, and we're trying to do this transaction, and halfway through the transaction, there was a change in government. There was a change in national government, and the new government that came in completely changed so many things, such that that deal just fell through. So things are changing so quickly. Even when you're trying to draw a strategy plan, you can't even draw a 10-year plan anymore. If you draw a 10-year plan, it would probably change after 2 years. So even though you have a long-term strategy plan, you have to be very tactical in how you do twists and turns. You navigate those bends and curves. There is staff attrition to deal with. The workforce is changing radically. Previously, people will come in, stay in a job, and stay in that job for maybe 5 years before they change to another company. Or they even in the much older generation, some people will come into a job and stay in that role or stay in that company throughout their life, as a career person, as a professional. They will stay, the entire life is spent in one company. That is almost impossible today. People are changing jobs after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years. So staff attrition is something that business owners now have to think about. They have to figure out, how do I manage my processes such that if a new staff comes in tomorrow, because the one who is the tried and trusted for the past 3 years or whatever amount of years has now decided to leave, how do I ensure that there's no impact to my service delivery? How do I ensure that my customers don't feel the impact of that change? Because your customers are really not interested. They just want their products, they want their service, whatever it is they're paying for, they want that at a certain quality of service. So how do you manage that? And these things are now happening a lot faster. Also, new products are coming into the market, so your customer now has a greater option to choose from. Before, there was probably just one hero product in the market, and everybody went and bought that product. But now, it's changing radically. They could choose from a whole line of different products, all offering to do the same thing and with slightly different benefits. Okay, so all these, again, are things that we now need to think or ask ourselves, how do we navigate? How do we bring business strategy into these scenarios? There's climate change to think about. There are new technologies that are coming in. Okay. So a key question I tend to ask is technology your friend or your foe? The obvious answer is technology should be your friend. But there are situations where technology is your foe, so you have to be aware. Okay? So is your business AI native? There was a solution that we wanted to provide to a company. And the first question that was asked is, when the solution was built, did you build it with AI already embedded in it? That's like question number one. Not like it's not an afterthought anymore. It's now the first thought, the first question. This service that you're offering, have you utilized AI? So AI has now sort of come into the world and almost is now reshaping our thinking. So you can't be sort of unaware of technology. Excuse me. So is your business AI native? New products will be coming into the market that are excuse me. So new products will be coming into the market that are AI native, meaning that the person who built that product had AI already embedded in it. Those products will be replacing the old trusted solutions, services, and products that don't have AI, or they're trying to bolt AI onto it, onto the old product. And I have a case in point where um, the solution I just referred to a few moments ago, the reason why that solution, the request for that solution came into the market or got to me was because the old tried and trusted solution they had was not AI compliant. So they were thinking, how do we compete in this current, market space? We need to have a product that's AI native. Okay, so this is for products. Services. Your your customers expect a certain level of quality of service, right? In the past, maybe you've provided solutions, and either because of depending on the age of your business, maybe you're still a small business, and so you're quite reliant on people, creating documents and things like that. And so there's a time delay between, say, for example, you have a session with a client and you want to create a document or a response, and there's a time delay because you have to sit down, review the document, get someone to read it, get another senior manager to approve the document before the document goes out. Now, an AI, robot or solution will take all the information, churn it out in literally seconds, and it can go straight to the customer. So if you don't have that embedded in your service, your processes, you're going to be behind. In fact, you are already behind. I was in a meeting where we used Copilot as the in the Zoom meeting, and the notes that I took from that meeting, when I compared it to the what Copilot prepared for me, it was flawless. I basically just did not bother about my notes anymore because it summarized it in such a way. It gave me the list of the attendees. It gave me all the key points that were discussed. It went as far as telling me all the action points. And I thought, wow. So straight away, the guys who used to sit down and write, take minutes of meetings so they can send an email out, Copilot has done everything for in that meeting. So is your business AI native? Key question to ask. Also, are you behind or ahead on the technology curve? Are you behind or are you ahead? Because as we've said, things are changing very quickly. You need to be ahead. If you are behind, you're almost going obsolete. So you have to reskill very quickly in terms of technology. And then another question you'll ask is, what more value can I create using technology? Because now technology is available, it's on our fingertips. You need to start thinking, what more value can I create for my customer using technology? Okay, so again, this is something that that's key that we need to answer, right? So right, okay, so now let's now look at the subject of strategy. So the way I see strategy, my own perception and my own definition of strategy is basically um, finding a way or having a plan to win, a plan to succeed. How do you plan to achieve your goals? How do you plan to succeed? What are your steps? How do you win? And I've said earlier on that a lot of strategic thinking or theories or framework come from the military, right? Because it's a life or death scenario for them. So it's how do I plan to stay alive? So they have that obviously as a mindset. And I think it's also important, for businesses to have that as a mindset. How do I plan to stay relevant as a business? How do I plan to keep offering, the right products, the right services to my customers such that I will remain in business? How do I evolve as my customers evolve? Okay. So, but apart from the military, if you go into sports, okay, you will see things like in football when you have a football team, and you have in front, you have the attackers, who are constantly thinking, how do I make sure I score the goals to make sure my team wins? Strategy is all about winning. I said it's about winning. You have the midfielders who are constantly thinking, how do I make sure that the competition or the opposition is not able to go past the midfield and get into our defense and score? How do I ensure that I can take the ball quickly enough to my strikers, my attackers, so we win the match? That's constantly playing in the minds of the players. And then, of course, the defenders are thinking, we are the last line of defense. Whatever we have to do, we must, this ball doesn't go into that net. And the keeper's job is just to stop that ball from coming to the net. So you can see different layers. And so when a coach is to approach a match, he obviously has his game plan. He has his game strategy. He's thinking, now this opposition, first of all, he will be thinking, are we playing home or away? If they're playing home, he knows he knows the environment in which he is going to be operating. He knows that he's going to have home support. He knows that his home supporters are going to be screaming at the top of their voice, and their numbers are going to be probably so overwhelming that you will maybe not even hear the sound of the opposition's supporters club, right? So he's thinking, what environment am I playing in? What environment am I, you know, going to play in? Then the second thought he will have obviously is, okay, I need to understand my competition very well. Do we just try and get a draw? Would that be the definition of a win for us? If we get a draw in this match, is that just good enough so that we will be ahead in points? Or is this a must-win match? So let me throw everybody into that match and make sure we win. Okay, so strategy is, you see strategy at play in the military. As I said, you see it at play in sports, and there's a lot of lessons we can pull from those scenarios into business. So just talking about environment, today's business environment has radically changed, as we said at the beginning. One of the things is, before COVID, right, we were talking about a VUCAD world, meaning a volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and disrupted terrain. So, things were being disrupted very quickly. But now, post-pandemic, it's completely changed again. It's now the term being used to describe the business terrain, the world that we live in now, is BANI, meaning brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. Your customer is now much more brittle than you've ever imagined. They are very anxious. So they will snap at you very quickly when you don't provide the service that they expected you to provide. Or when your product doesn't work, they will snap very, very quickly. So you have to think about, how do I manage this client when this client is going to, snaps, because they are brittle. Your employees will be brittle and anxious. They're thinking, cost of living is rising so much. What if I lose my job? How will I feed my family? They're constantly thinking about that. So maybe for the employers, you can reassure them that your job is safe, your job is secure. So this is the environment. This is the marketing environment, the business environment that we currently have to face at the moment. So how does that impact your strategy? You need to now be aware of these things and impute them into the way you approach your your strategy. Another thing I would like to say is, how well do you know your customers? Do you have a profile for your target customer? How does your target customer look like? Where does your target customer go? Where do they shop? Where do they hang out? If you could draw a picture of your target customer, how would that target customer look like? Is there a person you can say in the real world that typifies, that embodies your your perfect target customer? Is your target customer able to pay for your product such that your business will continue being profitable? Or do you need to sort of change your view in terms of the customers you are targeting? Do you need to think a bit wider, or do you need to just focus? How do you approach this? Then you also need to ask yourself, what does your customer really want badly? Because now, because we're talking about people being anxious, how how does that play into um their buying behaviors? You see, business is all about buying and selling, right? Who is buying what you are selling, and how do they behave? You need to think about that. And then you also need to ask yourself, what is your competitor doing? And a tricky question I like to ask is there space for your competitors, for all your competitors in this market? It, so there are certain markets in the world that some 5, 10 companies have just basically monopolized. Because if they have more competitors coming to those market spaces, it's going to make that business not very lucrative anymore for anyone. So if a disruptor comes in, they quickly buy up that company. So now that's a strategy for making money. You think about those kind of spaces. You create a solution that chinks at their armor. You will get their attention. They will buy quickly because they know that if you come in and you grow, then there's less money for all the other big guys who have now made that space their home. So they'll quickly buy you out. Good money. I was as I prepared for this, I was the owner of lynda.com. She just a few years ago, I think, she started utilizing online tools for her training. So she used to do trainings in the past, and she started utilizing online tools and thought, "Do you know what? Let me take all the trainings I'm doing, let me put it online." So she bought a website called lynda.com, put them online, and just kept building and building and building. And suddenly she caught the attraction of LinkedIn. And LinkedIn thought, okay, a lot of people are beginning to look at this company who is building this training portal for professionals, and they bought her out for $1.3 billion and renamed Linda as they renamed it in learning. So what's your customer doing? Then the next question I like to ask, competitive advantage. What makes you stand out? What gives you that edge over the competition? And then you start asking yourself, as you dig deeper into strategy, you start asking yourself things like, do I use a cost leadership strategy versus a differentiation strategy? Which will work best for me? So cost leadership strategy would be looking at things around um, nobody can beat you on pricing. Nobody anywhere can beat you on costs. Or if you think that's not what's going to make you win, you could now, focus on a differentiation strategy, which is pretty much I'm going to differentiate my product in the market such that we stand out so much that we are undeniably our target customer's choice. And our target customers do not choose based on cost. Aha. So again, you started unpacking what is the strategy that would work for you. Okay. I'd like us to watch something very, very briefly. It's design thinking. It's a 4 minute quick video. When sort of looking at the topic of strategy, one of the ways I like to approach it is using design thinking. Okay, design thinking is a very useful way to approach creating your strategy or your product or whatever it is that you are trying to sell. Remember I said business, the summary of business, when you pull out all the shining bells and whistles and flowering, it is I have a product or I have a service that I'm selling, and there's someone who is willing to pay or pay for it or buy it. So how do you use design thinking to make sure that your strategy works so that you keep producing the right product that your target customer keeps paying for? Okay, I'm going to start the video now. Just let me know if you can hear it.
The first Apple computer mouse. It came with Apple's $10,000 Lisa computer, and it was designed by a product design consulting firm that would eventually become known as IDEO. The assignment was straightforward. They had to take the computer mouse, a $400 device at the time, and bring it down to under $35, make it mass producible and reliable. And above all, it needed to be simple.
We control Lisa by pointing to these images on the screen with this unique item called a mouse.
Fast forward about 30 years, and IDEO doesn't really create products anymore. They've transitioned to designing networks and experiences, things like Los Angeles' voting system and the Red Cross's method for finding donors, even entire schools. So what does making a computer mouse have to do with creating a school system from scratch? It turns out, quite a lot.
The world we live in is one where really the complex things are the things that are mostly broken, not the simple things. We have lots of great products, lots of beautiful products, lots of products we can use every day. Everything from furniture to tableware to consumer electronics. They're mostly pretty good, right? And yes, there's opportunity to do better and do more, but I'm interested in the things that don't work very well and the things that you can impact society with, and they're mostly the more complex things.
Back in 1971, a designer named Victor Papanek wrote a book called Design for the Real World. The premise was pretty simple. Creators could take some of the same design strategies from the creation of industrial products and use them to tackle problems like pollution and overcrowding and food shortages. By 2001, IDEO had done just that, pivoting from products to real-world experiences. But the design steps? Tim Brown says they stay just about the same.
The first piece is observing the world in order to ask an interesting question, right? And you can observe the world in lots of different ways. When we talk about human-centered design, we're really talking about observing the way humans live their lives and asking interesting questions about, hey, why does somebody do this and not that? Or why is somebody struggling with this problem? Why is it hard for somebody to open that, why are they struggling to open that jam jar lid? Well, so maybe I could redesign the jam jar lid, right? Or maybe I could give them a tool to help them, right? So why is this happening? So the first step is that looking at the world and coming up with a good question.
For making a mouse, that means watching how people use computers and observing what they want and what they don't. For designing a school, that meant spending a month in Peru, meeting with students and parents, teachers, investors, government and business leaders to address needs like academic planning, modular classroom space, accessible technology, and affordable tuition.
The next step is taking all the insights you have about those questions and starting to imagine ideas, like here's what I could do, here's what I might imagine doing better or differently. So that's what we often call ideation or idea making.
Then comes the fun part. You test it out.
Right at the beginning of the process, it might be a really simple cardboard model or a quick sketch, or if it's digital, it might be a quick digital simulation or something. And you try it out with people.
Sometimes those drafts can be pretty rough. The first prototype for the mouse was a roll-on deodorant stick and a butter dish from a Palo Alto Walgreens.
And you test it and see, and it doesn't work. Okay, so I need to rethink my idea, and I do it again, right? And this is where the iteration comes in, right? You learn from the prototype, you realize what's not working, or maybe it's a crummy idea, you have to go back and find a new idea again. And you go through that loop over and over again, asking the question, having ideas, prototyping, learning, and until you get to something that truly meets somebody's needs or a set of people's needs. Now, the last bit of the process, which arguably happens in that iteration, also is the storytelling piece, right? Because always you're trying to explain to people why your idea is interesting.
Macintosh, the computer for the rest of us.
I think what you need to design a complex system is not one brain, you need lots of brains. You need lots of brains with different perspectives, different creative contributions that they make, working together to get to an outcome that is literally rich enough and sophisticated enough to be able to behave like a system instead of being like an object.
Excellent. All right. So I hope you heard that clearly, and there was no issue with that. All right. So in terms of the design thinking process, just as the CEO of IDEO has actually elaborated, when you want to approach the strategy you need for a new service or a new product or a new offering of whatever offering that you're going to be releasing, it's important, right, that you first start by observing. You can't assume that you already know it. You can't assume that you know it, or you have to have a mindset that wants to learn your customer, understand what they need, learn of them, have a very open mind. Okay, try and understand what their pain points are. What is the real issue, and how painful is that issue to them? That would help you sort of know where to focus on. So you have quite a number of things, and you have to be very open-minded at that stage. And then the next would be, you then think about, you then ideate and think through, all right, I have this 15 pain points. Let's now begin to think, how do we solve this pain? You start, digging a little bit deeper and start asking questions around things like, why is this a problem? Is this a problem of understanding? Is there a product out there that can already solve this so I don't waste my time? Is there a service that's already out there that actually I can just leverage that service to solve a bigger problem? Is this the real problem that we need to solve? Or are there a few other bigger problems where this is just a little bit of that sort of bigger problem? And then once you are able to think through all these various, ideas you've brainstormed, you can then and start to prototype. Start thinking, okay, let's now bring all the ideas together in terms of potential solutions, and let's now create what I call a pre-pilot. It's not a pilot yet. It's you're just testing your solution, whether your solution actually solves the problem. And then once you've done that, you do a bit of validation to validate that, okay, that means I actually understand the problem. Because you may have thought you understood the problem, but you didn't really understand the problem. And so you create a solution that doesn't solve the problem. And at times this happens with, very big companies who think, see, we already know what the customer wants. We understand their pain points. End of story. We are not going to evolve. And a company that's you know was a culprit of that was BlackBerry. So if you watch the movie, the movie about BlackBerry and also read materials about it, you will find out that BlackBerry obviously were pioneering keyboards on mobile phones. They had a full QWERTY keyboard, and it was like this is their thing. This is what customers want, and they celebrated in that. But you see, the customer is constantly evolving, so you have to keep constantly observing the customer, ideating and prototyping and testing. So what happened? Others, a suggestion of having a phone that doesn't have any form of keyboard, came up, and they were like, "No, customers will never use a phone that has no keyboard." When you look back in hindsight, you can imagine, wow, how could you have thought that way? But you see, hindsight is we have a lot of wisdom when we look, look backwards. But we can, if they just observed the customers a little bit and saw things were changing, they would have evolved very quickly and stayed at the top. There was a time having a BlackBerry was like the in thing. It was like if you had a BlackBerry, you are a successful person. But now no one even just mentions the name BlackBerry at all in the mobile phone space. And then obviously after prototyping and checking, iterating and checking that you're just like a potter, you crush it and try again until it actually solves the problem. Once you've done that, you obviously now take it into do a bit of storytelling, evangelizing about the product and the value that the product is going to be creating. But while you're doing this, there's something that sits underneath this, which I would like to highlight that happens, which is, sorry, divergent thinking. Now, divergent thinking is um, when you are having a thought process that generates quite a number of ideas, but you are basically being open-minded. You're just like your mind is open. You are not shutting down any idea. There's no idea at that point that is a silly idea. Every idea is good. You just take note of it. You use that when you are observing and ideating. When you're observing the customer, when you're ideating, you take in everything, you soak it in like a sponge. But then when you get into the level of you're trying to now make a prototype, okay, so you're not trying to narrow down all these 500 ideas that we are talking about. You're not trying to make a decision. You now start using convergent type thinking, right? And then once you get into the testing phase, you start using you basically sit in the seat of the customer and have the voice of the customer and think about, if I was the customer, this profile of this customer, would I buy this product? Will I pay for this service? Okay. And with divergent thinking, you use tools like a Miro board, and you use lucid chart, you do brainstorming, and then so those are tools that you could use that are quite visual in terms of usage. And then for convergent thinking, you start going into tools like the decision matrix or the Eisenhower matrix, which is basically trying to understand urgency versus important. This is an urgent thing to do, but is it important? Is it important now? Can it be done later? You now start using that to help you in that decision process. And of course, when you get into the testing phase, you now start making sure that you're using feedback tools like SurveyMonkey, and you're using feedback tools like Typeform to basically hear what the customer is saying, because your customer is your best designer, because they know what they want and they will tell you where it hurts. Think about someone who, you know, you you just bought this new shoe. The person who's wearing the shoe knows where it pinches, right? So he could tell you, no, this shoe is not mine. This shoe looks good. it looks like this is the shoe I should be wearing, but when I put it on, it pinches me on so many toes. And so they can tell you what their pain points are, and you can easily um, start to fix it. All right. So as I wrap up, I want to just quickly talk about the forecast, the business forecast for 2025. So according to McKinsey and Co., digital transformation and IoT will transform a lot of businesses when they couple it with AI. So when they couple it with AI, so McKinsey says we will see an $11 trillion annual impact globally. So I've added the part around AI and emerging technology because IoT on their own is great, but when you then couple it with AI and emerging technologies, you're going to see an explosion. Absolutely. All right. We had, so just a few years ago, a lot of smartwatches, a lot of AI, smart devices were coming in. Now that, and these smart devices produce a lot of data. Now when you then, overlay AI on top of all the smart devices, you're going to see an explosion. All right. And that's the second point they have raised. They've said that data-driven businesses will become the norm. It will become very normal for businesses to be, data-driven. They're making business decisions based on advanced analytics. This will be normal. So a lot of companies will enter into the advanced analytics space and begin to offer this as a service to companies. Right? There will be, AI will be used for decision making and optimizing operations. Again, this will be normal. It will be normalized. So if in 2025 you're not using those, you will be the abnormal in the normalized business world of using advanced analytics and AI. There will be a global shift, according to McKinsey, in 2025, with emerging markets beginning to play even a more significant role in the global economy. They are forecasting that up to 230 of the Fortune 500 companies globally will move headquarters into emerging cities. And this is a major jump because in 2000, which is just about 24 years ago, right? There were only 24 companies in the Fortune 500 companies that had headquarters in emerging cities. Now this has multiplied astronomically, and it's going to keep rising. And the reasons are not far-fetched. We won't go into that here. And then the final thing is, there will be a workforce evolution just because there's a lot of automation being introduced. AI will continue to reshape the workforce, and so it will be important that as business owners that you keep reskilling your employees, right? You keep reskilling them. Because that will be a major focus. If your employees don't know how to use some simple AI tools, Copilot, ChatGPT, and I don't mean just writing as a query, but you're utilizing it effectively, then you would be almost like in the Stone Age already. I'll wrap up by giving this example. We were analyzing some data recently, my team and I, some Excel data, and we were taking some time to analyze it, and we just carried that Excel data and uploaded it into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT a few questions. And all this massive Excel data with a lot of data points, it just brought up all the key points we were looking at, points that we did not even realize. And what made it even more exciting was it was taking some of the points that we were talking about from the database and cross-referencing it with some other sources on the internet and telling us, according to so-and-so website, when they cross-referenced the data we had just uploaded, it gave me completely brand new set of ideas that I wouldn't have even seen by just looking at the data alone. So straight away, if all I did was, good old Excel, look at all the data, analyze it myself, did VLOOKUPs, did HLOOKUPs, did dedupes, and all of that, I still would not have reached the decisions or the intelligence or the information that I got by just uploading that Excel document into ChatGPT and asking the right questions. So these I believe is something that we all need to think about in for 2025. And so, in terms of next steps, um, I will be taking 10 companies or 10 businesses on a 10 weeks strategy journey in 2025, and it's starting on the 25th of January. And I just looked at the number of participants. Interestingly, we're 25 right this moment. So that's interesting. Okay, so 25 on the 25th of January 2025, I'll be kicking off a journey with 10 businesses for 10 weeks, and it's a strategy journey where we'll unwrap, rewrap, review, look at your business strategy. We'll do quite a number of topics, all just to make sure that you are fully equipped or better equipped for success in 2025. My team and I have valued this journey to be £1,000, but we'll be giving a 60% discount to anyone who registers today, or anyone who is on this who is in this class today, or this seminar, this webinar today. Anyone here who attended has access to a 60% discount. You don't have to do it just today. You have an access. You have 60% discount, and that's all from me. Thank you, and I hope this has been enriching. I hope this has been um, um, really good for you, and I'm looking forward to kicking off that journey with 10 businesses in 2025, who we will unpack quite a lot of strategic ideas over the course of 10 weeks. Thank you. All right, so Beams, I will hand over to you to wrap up.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, sir. We are super grateful. It is a pleasure to have been on this call. I do not know where I would have gotten this information. It's funny how we talk about ChatGPT, but still, there are certain things that ChatGPT cannot put together if we have not put these things out there for it to find. These informations have been put out there, and this is still value that we are putting on the table, that when we have this information in so many spaces and so many places, different social media and platforms, when the question is asked, maybe in the next 5, 6 years on ChatGPT, it will look for sources and places where this information has been placed, and validated, and bring it out as a result for someone who needs them. And that is the beauty of the information we have heard today. I believe that everybody on this call has gotten so much value. We have taken so much information, soaked in, and we are fat enough, to pour out, and add value to our businesses and our community. I don't know if we have any questions before we wrap up. If you have any questions, just raise your hand, and I will just call you quickly. Any questions from anybody? Okay, we have a question in the chat box from Mr. Abraham. Is there a question?
Oh, not a question, just a reaction from me. I would just
Okay.
like to, if I may, ask if
Yes, please, sir.
Mr. Odia can tell us more about this idea of the creative destruction of AI. The point is that can be a foe or a friend, like you describe. But how can people that are not that are far from technology space, how can they really begin to look into this? For example, I am just selling cakes in Oxford. It sounds remote to me, and I am beginning to imagine, how can that really play out? How can they start preparing so that AI can really work for them? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, Prof. So see, with AI and with all types of technology, you really need to sort of catch up, right? Because technology is changing very quickly, and that's why you see that most companies, right, are almost evolving into technology companies because what they are offering is now being either offered by technology as well, or technology is helping to improve it. So now, if I focus on your point about the cake seller in Oxford, um, a cake seller in Oxford, right, is, let's say that their market is Oxford at the moment, right? But someone who has access to technology, not just AI or ChatGPT, would would know where uh and okay, let me use this scenario because this is actually one of those things in technology that you could argue, is this ethical, but it's happening. When you mention the word cake in your own house, in the comfort of your room, because you have a mobile device or you have a laptop that has, things like Chrome, Google, and a few other things embedded in it, right? That mention of cake will be stored there, and then someone can query, can who has the right accesses can query, Google and other providers, and know that somebody in, let me just choose, I don't know, I can't remember the streets now in Oxford. We're now in Oxford.
Yes, in High Street.
In High Street in Oxford is really thinking about cake, and so suddenly he starts getting adverts when he just opens his he wants to just check on what's the next movie in Netflix. He just sees something about cake that you can actually order cake right now, and we are even doing a promotion of 20% off if you order in the next 5 minutes. And he just thought, wow, I just now, the person who doesn't have access to technology, who also produces cake, has already lost out on that customer. So, tech businesses, no matter how advanced or how, young in the business, the business is, they really need to leverage technology. Okay, so that's an example I would use.
Thank you so much. That's straightforward.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for that response. I don't know, Mr. Abraham, was that sufficient enough? We don't have much
Absolutely.
time,
Thank
but
you.
I know that we would love to hear more and more. Trust me, the 10 over 10 is a must be. If you want to upscale, if you want to move from 0 to 100 in 2025, this is very necessary. Every business, every person, even for person growth, it is important that we have this information. Information is what drives the world. If you know it, it takes you to the next level. If you don't know it, you have to ask. The time frame is to take you to now start finding out about this information. You would have found out about it 5 years ago, and it would have driven you further than you expected. Do we have any more questions or comments, before we wrap up? Okay, is that a no? Let's see if there are any questions. Okay, all right. So I would like to call on someone who is very dear to our hearts. I know Miss Saudia has already spoken about her already, but she is phenomenal. She is an extraordinary woman. She moves like wind. Like she's here today, she's next minute, yeah, she's here, then she's doing something, and she's always cutting and making waves. Like I don't know. But without further ado, please help me welcome Dr. Alo, the CEO and founder of Brains and Butter, Brains and Banter, Brains and Butter Cups, Butter Flyers, High Flyers, and many much more to come. Miss Dr. Alo, the floor is yours.
Wow. Thank you so much, Beams. Thank you for comparing this session this evening. Honestly, my head was just buzzing. I mean, cloud business already. I'm thinking digital transformation. I'm thinking divergent thinking, convergent thinking. How are my clients evolving? How can my business evolve with the evolution that's happening with my clients? I don't want to be BlackBerry or Nokia, right? How can I add value? Value. What are the pain points, or what are the things that my customers really need the most in this Banny world? I particularly liked when Mr. O talked about your customer is your best designer. And I was just already having my Calendly filled. And I'm like, in 2025, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to catch up with my clients, literally offer them sessions for free, sit down with them and just get to know what are their pain points. And I know there's so much Mr. O has to share in 10 over 10, from your executive presence to your strategic collaborations. He is a big part of the success that I have experienced in Brains and Butter. We pretty much have strategic conversations on a daily basis. So I really want to encourage everyone. The link is in the chat room, and we'll send out the links. We've taken screenshots of those who attended today, because one of the things that happens when you discount services, I have a consultant friend who does not give discounts. She does not like the principle, because she will say to you, the moment you do that, people think you're just trying to do a hard sell, and people don't even appreciate the value. I know how much Mr. O paid for his MBA. I'm talking like literally over $50,000 to get an MBA, then years of experience, and you having access to that. Even the Holy Scripture says, buy the truth and sell it not, because it is so important. It is so important that you really equip yourself with the right tools, with the right knowledge, and be in spaces where you can literally unravel things and discuss your business in depth. When it's a session like this, it's very informative, very insightful, but you want to take further steps. So please don't sleep on that link at all. Do click on the link. Like, I'm so in the bubble right now. I'm like, Mr. O, we need a digital transformation session, because many people, I mean, like Mr. Professor Abraham was asking about the cake business. Every business is a technology business. Every business, for as long as you're leveraging on technology. So that I don't keep us any further, as you can tell, I'm just so excited, so thankful that this has happened this evening. And I want to especially thank everyone. I can see friends, family on the call. Like, this is just amazing. Thank you all so much for showing up. So let's grow together. Let's collaborate together. One will chase 1,000, two will put 10,000 to flight. Two don't chase. When it's two, you're not chasing anymore. You put them to flight when it's two, right? So there's so much that we can do together in 2025. A lot of reconnections have happened in this space, and we have learned so much. To the man of the match, the man of the moment, Mr. O, thank you so much for really, impacting and teaching us so much this evening. It has been very, very insightful. Yes, ma, we will send the recording out. It's actually being streamed on YouTube. But I think what we may even do is make it a private link as well. So we're going to make it available to everyone who has logged on this evening, and we will send emails out as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this. And I'm so excited, about 2025. It's the last day of November. What a beautiful way to wrap the month. Thank you so much, Mr. O. We are so, so grateful for your time, your presence, your knowledge, and the impact you've had on each one of us tonight. Thank you very much, sir. So I'm going to hand over to Beams to close us out. So Beams,
All
over
right, thank you so much, Ma. Yes, so thank you so much, Ma. It was a pleasure hearing you speak to us. And thank you, everyone who was able to be on this call today. We know it's a late night, you should be sleeping or having a great time, but you chose to be here. And I believe that you got so much value, and your presence here, meant a lot to us, and we are super grateful. this couldn't have happened without you being here. We couldn't have been speaking to, ChatGPT, but we have you all here. So thank you so much. We are so grateful that you took out time out of your busy schedules to be part of this. And I know that you would not regret, moving on to the next stage of your life, the next stage of 2024 with the strategies that you have heard, and you would allow yourself to, add to what you will be receiving much later. So without further ado, and any questions, will be officially closing today's meeting. And we hope to see you very, very soon. So please do not forget the recordings will be sent across to you via your emails as you're registered for this particular session. And the links for the next 10 over 10 session that will be held next year. See you at the top, and have a great and amazing night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Dr. Alu, I've asked a question, so
Yes.
hopefully if you respond later, I've also
Okay.
sent us a text message.
Sure. I'll be sure to look at it.
Lovely. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay. Oh,
Bye-bye.
I've seen it now. Yes, I'll send you a response.
Yes, lovely.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Regards to everyone. Thank you. Okay, I've put her in the waiting room. Otherwise, would have just been here. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on standby. I think I have another Okpeyemi. I don't know if it's the same Okpeyemi. Okay. So this other Okpeyemi, let's see. Is that you?
Yes, ma. Good evening, ma. No, this is not me. I think this is Mrs. Owandoma.
Okay, okay,
Good
okay.
evening, sir. Well done, sir. Well done, ma.
Good evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I think it went really well. Well done, Mr. O. Thank you, Mrs. A. Thank you, Okpeyemi.
Okay, me, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma.
Well done, sir. It was amazing.
Yes, 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 yes.
I was
I
even
took the
looking.
screenshots, ma.
Oh, good, of the participants, right? I even
Yes,
took
ma.
screenshots as well.
Yes, ma.
Yeah. I was going to say something. Yeah, I was thinking we can even start in January, but since you in December, but January is good. Let's have a break because I
Yeah.
thought some people want to start to think about 2025 early enough. So someone has already asked for making payments in installments.
Yeah, I've seen it. She sent it to me. So.
Okay, okay, great. So it's looking good. Looking good.
Good. So thank you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Well done, ma. And well done to you too. Well done.
you.
Thank you for inspiring me to get this done.
Yes, yes. It's part of the Zibani. It's just how we just have to move. Honestly, like as you were speaking, I was thinking about guardianship packages, butterflyers, high flyers. It's not as if we have it all
Yeah.
together, but we're just listening to our clients. Honestly, it's just speaking to clients. People, they're asking for guardianship, you know. People want us to do more with their children. They want to be engaged with us. So I was just listening. I was honestly just thinking of guardianship, high flyers, butterflies.
I
And we
hope
need
you're also paying for this strategies, ma. Because like you're getting it for free.
all the marketing I did. I woke up 2:50, 10 minutes to 3 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I
wow.
walked here. I've not closed my eyes since
That's
2:50
true.
a.m.
That's very true. Very
Well
true.
done, ma.
Thank you. So that's the
Well
payment.
done, ma.
That's the business. Thank you. Thank you
Well
very
done, ma.
And just before we go, today I was just thinking, I was like, God, we need to make money in 2025. Oh.
Yeah.
We need
Yes.
to make money. No, no, no,
By the
no.
grace of God, ma.
Amen. 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 We need to. We need to. We have what it takes. We have
Yeah.
we
Yes,
have
ma.
the business. So I'm like, no,
Yes,
God,
ma.
we're going to make this money, and God is going to reveal it to us. It's there.
Amen.
It's there. It's
Amen.
there. It's there. So let me keep
I think
us.
we're in the right direction. So
I
we're
think
getting it.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
we're
yes.
getting it.
In fact,
So
what
it's
Holy
just
Spirit
for us
said,
to put everything together and
yes,
then we launch in the right direction.
yes. Honestly, I agreed. I agreed. I agreed. What the assurance the Holy Spirit gave me is that as we get ready ourselves,
Yes, yes.
oh, it's going to get very busy. It's almost like he's
Amen.
even waiting for the CRM to just
Mm,
put in place. So
mm.
as I was speaking, he was just, don't worry, don't worry, just focus on getting ready. Just focus on
Mhm,
getting ready because it's going to
mhm.
get busy and that the money will be made, the revenues will be
Mhm.
made. So we have Mr.
We
O.
are ready, ma.
We are ready. Amen.
We're ready already.
We are ready already.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thank you
very
both
much,
so
ma.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Well
ma.
Have a
done,
Thank you,
sir.
wonderful
sir.
weekend.
My
You
regards
too, ma.
to the peace, the
Thank
Yes.
Queen,
Yes, ma.
Michael and Andrew.
And thank you so
And
much.
Prince too, ma.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Regards
Good
to
night,
grandma,
ma.
to
Good
grandpa,
night. Thank you,
to
ma.
Olaoluwa, Ifeoluwa, Erioluwa,
Thank you, ma. All right.
Thank
and
you, ma.
Good
Good
daddy.
night,
night,
sir.
ma.
Good
Good night.
night.